Welcome to the August 24th meeting of the Rotary Club of Des Moines. I'm President Becky Greenwald. Now today I'm going to start off with some fun facts sharing about our community partner, the Botanical Garden. As you'll recall from last week, that's one of our project from last year. We're working on the Children's Nature Center there. But did you know that that facility opened in 1979 as the Botanical Center? In December of 2012, the Botanical Center closed its doors, and in January of 2013, the Botanical Garden opened its doors for the very first time. So we've all been enjoying that dome for many years. Anybody want to guess how tall that is at the highest point?
Taller than me.
Ah, okay, good, Greg. What is it? Right. Sorry. That wasn't very nice of me. He's going to get me back double, I know that.
11 Greg's tall.
Okay, it is 150 feet tall and 80 feet tall and 150 feet in diameter. And it has 655 triangles, and they're made out of 1/4-inch thick plexiglass and aluminum, and there are 29 different sizes. But the most interesting fact they told me, I thought, was that Iowa's first living wall is in the garden shop, and it holds over 1,311 individual plants. So there you have a few fun facts about the Botanical Garden. And now I'd like to invite Bob Bedroll to come up and give a few moments of inspiration, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance and our highway test. Bob?
Thank you, President Becky.
That was good.
It's about helping people advance in life. And we have people in the room such as Kathy with Hope Ministries, my dear friend Christina Smith, as community support advocates that help people take a next step in life. And I found this poem online by Bertrand Bradley. Start where you stand. Start where you stand and never mind the past. The past won't help you in beginning anew. If you have left it all behind at last, why, that's enough, and you're done with it. You're through. This is another chapter in the book. This is another race that you have planned. Don't give the vanished days a backward look. Start where you stand. The world won't care about your old defeats if you can start anew and win success. The future is your time, and time is fleet. And there is much of work and strain and stress. Forget the buried woes and the dead despairs. Here is a brand new trial right at hand. The future is for him who does and dares. Start where you stand. Old failures will not halt. Old triumphs aid. Today's the thing, tomorrow soon will be. Get in the fight and face it unafraid, and leave the past to ancient history. What has been, yesterday is dead. And by it, you are either blessed or banned. Take courage, man, be brave, and drive ahead. Start where you stand. Please join me for the Pledge of Allegiance. Pledge allegiance
to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
And now, five-way test.
Is it true? Is it fair to all concerned? Will it build goodwill and better friendships? Will it be beneficial to all concerned?
Is it fun? Please greet your fellow Rotarians. Jason, see you.
Good job, Bob.
Thank you very much.
Good job, you played right in for us. You're out of the lot of meeting and greeting going on out there. I encourage you to take your seats. We've got a few guests we'd like to introduce. This is great. Lots of buzz in the room. I love that. So we have several guests today. I'm going to ask each of our guests to please stand when I call your name and remain standing, and then we'll applaud when everyone has been introduced. So first off, Lisa Behrens, who's the YSS Director at the Iowa Homeless Youth Center, a guest of Kathy Cody. Jay Gould with Inspirity, and he's Sean Mullen's guest. We have a Rotarian here with the Rotary Club of Newton and works with Vernon Company, guest of Chaz Allen. Please welcome all these visitors. Thank you very much. We're so happy to have you today. And it's tumbler time. Please consider donating $5 if you don't have a little green dollar sign on your name badge. And even if you do, you can always donate more to our Rotary Club of Des Moines Foundation. And thank you for your continued support. Now I want to be sure to remind folks, last week we introduced the challenge. Anybody remember the name of it? That's right, yeah, good. 1911 Challenge. You've got these forms on the table and out by the name badges. And just want to remember there's also a link in the Tuesday newsletter that'll help you self-total. And we're having some fun. And this is all tied together with the year that we were formed, 1911. And you have a chance to earn points up to 1,911 points. Get that connection there. And then when you did, you're an achiever. And we want to encourage some friendly competition among each other. And all the achievers get their names put into drawing, and we'll be drawing some opportunities for people to get some Paul Harris Fellow points to move their fellow along. So we're looking forward to having some fun. And already today, just by being here and enjoying this wonderful lunch, you've got 25 points right there. So enjoy the challenge. This goes throughout this year. And I gotta say, Sean Mullen jumped in there and did a podcast with me, so there's even a podcast talking about the challenge. It'll soon be coming over airways, known to you.
Looking forward to getting my points on there.
I know, it's working it, isn't it? So, anyway, also, one other quick little reminder, don't forget, if you're gonna be doing something extra fun, going somewhere special, take a Where in the World is Club 25 with you. Take your photos and send it in to Kitty, and we can share where you've been. And what does that say?
Club 27.
Oh, I said 25? Oh, I'd have to pay $5 to our foundation for that mess up. I will give you $5. Make it, all right, 10. Okay.
20.
Stop. Moving right along.
27.
Okay, I'll pay $27. That'll make me really happy with that. Thank you. $27. I'm good for it. I might even have it with me. Okay, busted. Okay. Don't forget to check with Kitty, though. We want to share slides of where you've been, even if it's somewhere around town doing something fun. Okay, so I want to now introduce David Ullman, who's going to introduce our keynote speaker. David.
Good afternoon, Becky. Thank you very much. I've heard two Rotarians come up in the last 30 minutes and say, you're doing a great job.
Oh, thank you.
And let me just give you my perspective. Signs aside, you're doing a great job. So I welcome the chance to introduce our speaker today. And I appreciate Jackie Norris from the program committee, who's not here, who called me and said she had a good idea. And I said, tell me what your idea is. And she said, I would like to have you introduce our speaker X weeks out. And she said, do you know Isaiah Knox? And I said, we've met, but I really don't know him. But I'd like to get to know him. So she said, well, I would like you to introduce him because I think it would be good in the spirit of Rotary and bipartisanship and all of that for a Republican to introduce a Democrat. And I said, I'm glad to do it. So I just want to mention to the program committee one thing. If you do schedule Bernie Sanders, don't ask me to do it.
I'll handle that one, Dave.
Isaiah Knox is a young, but not too young, rising star in our capital city, and thus in our state. He was elected to the Iowa Senate 1 year ago in District 17, which we're just about on the border of it here, east of here, northeast of here, east across the Des Moines River, is all District 17, urban district, good, solid district with some challenges. And Isaiah, I think, is the right person to represent that district, given the career work that he's done and is doing. I would add, staying with politics for a little bit, that I think it's pretty likely that he could hold that seat for as long as he wants. Isaiah has some great committee assignments in the Senate, Commerce, Judiciary, Local Government, Natural Resources and the Environment, and Technology. And he is one of 4 legislators, 2 Democrats, 2 Republicans, 2 House, 2 Senate, one of 4 who serve on Debbie Durham's Iowa Department of Economic Authority, the IDEA board. And I'm familiar with some of the work they do. That's a serious board role for you. And good for you and good for them that you're connected with IDEA. I want to tell you just a little bit about the Isaiah that I've come to know. We were trying to get a meal schedule. We didn't get that done. We swapped some text. We had a good phone call. And we've agreed that once he comes back with his family from Cape Town, South Africa, in a few weeks, we're going to get together. But what I've learned about Isaiah from Jackie and from talking to him and others, that this is a person who has 2 real drivers in his life. One is this community, and 2 is his family. They have 3 children. Ages are 21. That's the young man who is, there he is. That's the young man who will be studying in South Africa. And then their other kids are 11 and 6. Isaiah likes sports, biking and boating, and he told me that Sailorville Lake is his, quote, happy place. We'll come out sometime, but not when it's 100 degrees. Okay, all right. Seriously, Isaiah is a graduate of Drake University. He went to work for Urban Dreams many years ago, went back to Drake University to get his master's degree, and now he runs Urban Dreams, which is a terrific and important not-for-profit in our community. It's a group that helps many in our community who maybe need to get a good start or maybe need to do something and turn their lives around. And he's done a great job with it. So it's a real privilege for me to introduce our speaker today, Senator Isaiah Knox.
I have some constituents in the room, so I hope that they feel the same way and hold that seat as long as I want. So, yes, I am the Executive Director of Urban Dreams, and before I was the Executive Director of Urban Dreams, I worked there when Wayne Ford was the founder, and at that time, the longest serving Black state representative in the history of Iowa. Akeo has now surpassed that. And I'm gonna try to do this in chronological order, but I'll bounce all around, and if you have questions, raise hands. So, when I worked for Wayne, when I graduated from Drake the first time in 2002, he was on Capitol Hill running the organization. And like any Drake graduate, I thought, I can do this better than this guy any day. Last year, I had to actually look him in the eyes and apologize to him. It is hard. It is hard work running a nonprofit, being elected, running for office. It is extremely difficult work, and I couldn't do it without my family support. My wife's on the school board, Jenna Knox, so she had just got elected at the time, and I wasn't even going to talk about politics, but you started this trend. I was talking about Urban Dreams. She had just got elected. We have 3 kids, 1 in college, 2 in elementary school at the time, and I started calling people in the community that I had known had run for office, wanted to run for office, were engaged politically, because after knocking 12,000 doors, you find out that most people aren't engaged politically, but we need to get them there. That overwhelmingly people said, I said, are you gonna run? Are you gonna run? Are you gonna run? And they said, no, it's your time to run. I was like, there's no way we can do it. But with full family support of my son Chance and my daughter Johnny and my daughter Porter, you know, my son Chance, see, I'm gonna cry, he knocked the second most doors of anybody in my campaign. And he was, whew, sorry. And my daughter Johnny and Porter, they probably knocked just as many doors because they knocked with me. And I gotta tell this funny story. It might have been somebody's house, it might have been your house actually. So we're knocking on the door. And, all right, so let me back up. So when I used to knock on doors, they used to, if they had to go to the bathroom or something, Dad, I gotta go to the bathroom, like we gotta go right now. I'm like, hold on, right? Like you can't scream when I'm talking to somebody at the door. It's just gonna be a very short conversation. Just keep it and I'll come down and make sure we take care of it you need to. Well then, they learned this lesson. So I'm knocking on the door and no one's answering. And I look down at my daughter, she's like doing this. And I'm like, I'm writing out my lit, you know, sorry I missed you, here's my number, call me if you have any questions. And she's like, no, Dad, knock again, they're right there in the window. Oh. No, can't do that either, that means they don't want to talk to you. So, yeah, that's a little bit about my family. I have continued to put my PhD off at Iowa State because I continue to do all this work. I went from DMAC, and then I thought I was going to be community college president. Then I went to Wellmark for my transition plan to take over Urban Dreams. Then I went to Urban Dreams. Then I ran for Senate. And my major professor still calls me all the time. We got to get this done. So someday I'm going to get it done. And I'm ADD, so I really should. I'm active. And little known fact, I was born in Iowa, but I grew up in Seattle, and then I came back to Iowa. So we get people to come back. We need more. So who knows about, this is the Urban Dreams plan, right? Yep. Who knows about Urban Dreams? Oh, okay. Who knows that there is an Urban Dreams? Who really knows about Urban Dreams? Much fewer hands, right? And we've evolved over the decades that we've been around. We've been around since 1985. Wayne Ford started us, and we were only a place that was open from 6 to 9 at night. We were only a place that was there that had coffee for people all the time, had air conditioning on days like today, it had heat in the winter, it had a telephone, like an old one that you had to dial. We answer it for people that didn't have addresses or phones at home, take messages, we were a mailing address, we had a TV so people could come in and watch the news. Even when I started there, we were still kind of that just community engagement place. We had more services at that point, but we were just kind of like whatever the wind and whatever the neighborhood needed, we filled that void for them. We got much more intentional over the years, and we went to 5 buckets of work. So since I've transitioned as the executive director in 2017, and the incoming executive director 3 years before that, I wanted to make sure that we were going a mile deep and an inch wide instead of an inch deep and a mile wide on the services we provided. But the only way that I felt that we could do this is if we engage with the community in a real authentic way. Who knows Wayne Ford in the room? Okay, I worked under Wayne for 3 years. Can you believe that? It's a joke, you can laugh. You can't believe it, we know. But one thing I wanted to do, because Wayne had all the programming, right? Wayne has been a pillar in our community for, like I said, since the 70s. And I wanted to have my own thing. So what I did was I created this community connectivity piece. I had read some research about how lonely people are and how that causes depression and obesity and all kind of health problems. And then the lower income you get, the more lonely you are and disconnected to your neighbors in your neighborhood. And I'll talk about this and I'll show some pictures in a minute. But the community connectivity piece was just supposed to be 12 events, 1 a month, so they were sustainable, that always had food for people to come in, always had some kind of programming, mostly fun, no agenda, nobody speaking at a podium or a microphone, just for the community to get together. Then we started to survey people and ask them, what do you really need in the community that will really make this a place that you feel? Because we're on the corner of 6th and Forest. I live on the corner of 6th and Hickman. So I've known about this community for a long time, what we need. Some of this other stuff, workforce education, the food pantry came out of, and again, I'm gonna go into more details on these things. The food pantry came out of COVID, really. We had a small little food pantry in our community, or in our office, for people that had either exhausted all their resources, couldn't get to one, didn't know where a food pantry was. We had a little bit of food rescue, a little bit of canned goods, anything like that. Well, word on the street got out. Now we have 12,000 visits a year to our food pantry. stayed open during COVID, in person, still interacting with people. We were one of the only people that had the lights on 6th Avenue, so we became a real beacon for people to come to and really understand that this problem, we've been digging deep into this issue of food distribution and food insecurity in our community. We have a mental health counselor on staff, LSW. That slide is messed up too, so I'll give a little more details now. She's full. We have people coming all the time to us asking us, can we use your mental health counselor? We're like, we don't, she has no more space. One thing we did find out that was COVID, and this is kind of politics and practical, is that the telehealth, we have to make sure that we continue to have telehealth and the telephone service for people with mental health issues and needs when they need them. And we found out our no-show rate has like plummeted because they can stay at home now and get their services. Much easier access to services. Our substance abuse and our OWI jail diversion program, most people don't know this. Urban Dreams has a revenue arm, and it's the OWI jail diversion. We are the #1 provider of OWI jail diversion in the entire state of Iowa. We now operate in 9 cities across the state, and the stats will come up later on that, but most people didn't know about that part of what we do as well. So anybody that does the weekend class anywhere in the state, Urban Dreams is probably going to be your most accessible and your lowest cost option. All right, I already talked about when we were created, and I'm only the 2nd executive director ever in the history of Urban Dreams. So this is what our community connectivity events have really grown into, and also our youth and adult workforce development. So down here is the old Urban Dreams building, which is now this beautiful courtyard that we created on 6th and 4th, and this was the first year that we programmed it. So we combined our programming to our summer youth employment program and our community connectivity events, right? So we paid these kids actually to take over and run all the programming at that courtyard here all summer. Now, this courtyard, and let me tell you how I operate. I really do not, so I just did the welcome for the Drake freshmen this morning. And I told her, I said, listen, Drake people in Des Moines, and my wife's an Iowa person, she's like, man, these Drake people in Des Moines, y'all think you're all special. And we do think we're special. And we think that we know a lot from our textbooks and what we learn at Drake University. But then when you get out to the community, you're gonna find out you don't know as much. So when I built this courtyard, again, I did it on research based, but I put like percussion play in there for kids, and I put some other things in there that I thought that young people in our community like. Well, guess what? Mostly older people hang out there. Now, not what was my intention, but that's what the community wants and needs at the time. So guess what? We started catering to that. But we also started to now get the young people to start to program it so that they're having positive interactions between each other. So it wasn't my intention, but when we started doing this, these students were just amazing. And the best thing about it is they went and worked for Greg at the AAU Junior Olympics. They worked at Rendezvous at Riverview. They worked at all these community events. And let me tell you the impact it made, not only on our partners, because they were like, wow, these are the kids that we hear about and we read about in the newspaper and on the news that go into the Des Moines public schools and they're failing and they can't get things done and they skip school and they can't read and all this stuff. I changed their perspective, but I also changed the perspective of the kids in the community to know that they can go out and interact and be a helpful, productive member in this community. And we got to pay them. We got a little bit of ARPA grant money, more political stuff, to pay these students this summer. And they could have went and made more money somewhere else, but they didn't want to. We had people knocking on our doors trying to get into the program even after we started. No one quit. It was an amazing summer for these students, for their supervisors, for the pork producers that came out to help and sponsor one of the nights, but for the community too. It was just incredible. So we do that. We also do that in Cedar Rapids. We did that in Cedar Rapids for the last 3 years. And Des Moines. So about 50 kids go through our program, our summer youth employment work program every year. And this courtyard, again, we just raised all the money. We knocked down our building, we raised all the money, and got it done. All right, more about community connectivity. And one of my main focuses for the community connectivity was to have police and leaders in our community, people like you, have positive out-of-car experiences with people that they serve, right? That was the one thing I wanted to do. Is the video gonna play?
Now?
Let's try it. It's not showing. So the Florida Summer City Group is really to have police officers have positive on-car experiences and residents to come out in the park, play their basketball, put the lights on, play under the lights. It's really awesome. Tons of kids, tons of adults, tons of police officers, tons of community members just come out and enjoy each other, eating and playing basketball. I grew up in New York like years ago. Just being able to see this, being able to give back to the community, having the ability to build lights here. That's what it's all about. It's a great, great time. It's a great, you got everybody in the community here. It's always fun to see everybody come together.
I think it's very important to be able to be active in the community and have kids and adults and everyone come together and be able to support and have fun.
It's really no different than living here. It just gets played out on the corner and traffic and people honking and people stopping and people walking around here. So it's modern. And watching the police officers have a
That's all right. It's a great video. Go on YouTube and watch it. It's actually amazing. Anyway, you know what was funny? Anybody have kids that go to Valley or know people that go to Valley? I was just like, man, that's Zay right there from Valley. He's like one of their star players, getting all kind of scholarship offers and all that kind of stuff now. Won the state title. Anyways, I just noticed he was in that video when I played it the other day. But we serve so many people, and the police have been so engaged. Like our community car checkup that's coming up here soon, we'll do 500 cars that will come through and get their headlights, their tail lights, they'll get their brakes checked out, their engine checked out, get all their oil, all their fluids filled by train. O'Halloran International, they're mechanics. They come out and do it with partnership with DMAC, and we just shuttle cars through at North Parking Lot for a long time. And it's so funny about the perceptions we have about each other, right? So the first year we did it, I'm working with Chief Winger. We're trying to bring up this program, and Jim O'Halloran, Senior. And we're like, what do we do to make sure that we don't have pretextual stops in the community? Pretextual stops are a big thing that happens to make negative interactions between poverty and people of color and police officers. And pretextual stops be like a taillight being out. Something you might not know, but it leads to escalated situations. So, same thing, that's what we wanted. So we're like, let's fix those taillights. Well, what if you don't know, what if you can't afford it, all these things. So we put out these flyers all around the community, we're on social media pumping this thing up, and all of a sudden people start calling us, well, we're not coming because we know it's a trick. We know they're gonna give us a ticket when we show up. So I swear to God, I promise you not. So you see people circling the block like 3 times, like, are you sure they're not going to see somebody else leave without getting a ticket and really get their service? So now we know. The line starts no matter what time we say, well, we're gonna start at 8. Well, people line up at 6. We're gonna start at 9, people line up at 7. So it's a great program. It's incredible. It's an incredible morning that we do Saturday in the fall. We feel ready. And this program up here that the video didn't show for. So another thing, talk to the police. Like actually, the city calls me and they say we have a little bit of money to spend in 14 zip code I live in, the zip code Urban Dreams is in. And we want to maybe like fix a sidewalk on the street or put e-bikes up there or something else. There were 3 things. And I said, I've never, if living here now at that time, maybe 10 years, working there for, however long, heard anybody say they want those things. Sidewalks, yes, but 1 block of a sidewalk, like that's how much money they had, like no one's gonna notice. E-bikes, I was like, where would they ride it to, right? And they have bikes, right? So I'm like, I don't think that's a good idea either. It's like, well, what do people want? So I don't know, during our food pantry time, during the time of interactions with people, we'll ask them, if we had some money in a wish list, what would you like? They said, we want to be able to have lights in the park, because they have lights at Berglund on the tennis court, but on the basketball court. Okay, right? Culturally competent thing in my community would be basketball over tennis. And I go back to the city and they're like, oh no, we're not doing that. We don't want people in the park after dark. That's Ellen Davis Park, right? Bless you. We don't want people out there after dark. I said, here's what we'll do. Every Thursday night, I'll bring out some lights, pump them up, take them down. You guys pick them up, drop them off, we'll program it. I mean, we had over 300 people there every night playing basketball till 11 o'clock at night, eating, having a good time, no trouble. Now they've actually are designing brand new basketball courts there. Musco put in permanent lighting there and the football stadium. Like, we help, we want to think that we were the positive change we want to see in the community now, that we can put lights in parks for people to enjoy, even in communities where that would typically have been 10 years of no-no. It is working. Like, those are the things we have to do, but we have to demonstrate that. So, next. We have a great partnership with Broadlawns as our mental health counselor. I said she and that's those clients right now. That is even, the number is even higher than that. But we also have this amazing thing that I don't know if anybody's ever heard of, about the Teach and Tech Apprenticeship, where now we've had over 200 people graduate from that program, where we take people from the 14 and 13 zip code, where they go. Why are you laughing? Because the picture just disappeared. Just vanished. It was a good picture. I was in it. We had the 200 people from our community that graduate, that go to school there, become CNAs, graduate, and they get hired at an anchor institution at Broadlawns. So I do the graduation ceremony there sometimes, and this is what I tell them all the time. And it's mostly black and brown people. It's mostly people that are upskilling, getting a new career, getting a new job, and they all have their scrubs, and they get theirs. And I said, listen, when you're walking around the community now, when you leave this job and you go to Quick Trip or you go somewhere and you're pumping gas, wear your scrubs or wear your name tag and let people know where you work, because these kids are looking at you and they want to now to aspire to be like you. You are a role model, and I also tell them don't mess it up for the next group, because they will shut it down. So I always threaten them a little bit. So here are the places that we work out of for our OWI classes. We do about, as I said, 92 classes, between 90 and 100 a year. We're at about 1,100 participants. Of the 8,000 plus OWIs in the state of Iowa, we do the majority of the ones that are adjudicated in the state. So some of those get off, some of those only have to do 12 hours, some don't have to do any treatment, some have to do more treatment than we provide. But the ones that are in our wheelhouse, we do about just about half across the state here. And now we opened up a couple of Spanish speaking only classes because, again, we listen to the community, we find out what they need, and we fill that gap. And we don't know if we're gonna have to permanently fill this gap. No, someday somebody might come in and do it better than us, and that's okay. We're nimble, we change, we've pivoted over this a long time. We pivoted on the PowerPoint presentation. All right, so I want to talk about our food pantry a little bit. Again, I said, we started off so small, but it's been so impactful. And when we started out, again, we had no idea what we were doing. We just had some cans of food, a little bit of food rescue, and it's grown into, like I said, 1,000 visits a month coming to the food pantry. And the way, we really like social media, so we promote a lot of our stuff on social media and what we do. But these are like the social media posts that we post about food that we have. And we have some good stuff. One of the partnerships that I really want to shout out is, so right here, Orchestrate Hospitality, twice a week, makes us 150 meals, hot, from Centro on Wednesday and from Malo on Friday. And we pick it up and we serve it in the community. And that's some stuff that, like, houseless people don't have sometimes forms to cook things, right? So like a DiGiorno's pizza, if you don't have an oven, you need this, right? So we want to, again, cater to our community to make sure that we're having the things that we need all the time. But trust me, when we have stuff like this and some other stuff, man, the line, we're temporary at the United Way building. We just bought a 12,000 square foot building. And United Way's like, we've never had traffic like this. We didn't even know this need was real, and they work in the space, right? Like, to actually see it is totally different than actually reading it on a report or thinking about it or getting a white paper on it or something like that. All right, so in our old building, this was our biggest room, right? All these kids cramped in here. This is where we have the NA meetings, we have the outpatient substance treatment, all our youth programming went on there. Like, this was our biggest room in our old building. And it was always packed, always busy, always being used. And the kids, we felt at one point, we're like, not only the kids, but the community deserves better than this, right? Us providing all these services. And you should have saw our food pantry. Our food pantry was in the lobby, and it had all those visits. It was a lot. So we ended up raising money to buy a 12,000 square foot building, and obviously Walmart gave us a big donation, as you can tell, in that raising money. But here's the new 12,000 foot space that's going to open up in just a few months. It's literally right down the street, and we are so excited to have this assembly space here. a full-service food pantry here, break rooms, offices for all of our services. An esports lab is going in here. Esports is the largest growing, fastest growing sport. And we have 16 bays that are going to be in there too, so they can actually scrimmage against each other and compete against other schools. And this is open to all the one public schools, but everybody. And let me tell you how I've thought about this. I'm a trustee at Simpson, and they have a really good esports program, so we hear about it all the time. Then I go out to the Rexplex West, and I saw their amazing esports room, and it was always booked. I was like, well, what about the kids in my community? Where do they get access to that? They are not going all the way to Simpson until they get to college, or they're not going all the way out to the Westplex Rec, say it for me, to get on this waiting list. And it costs money. So I said, let's raise some money and let's build one in our community. Here, golf simulators. So again, I'm having lunch with somebody at Des Moines Golf and Country, and we're taking a tour of their new wing that they built, and they had those golf simulators in the basement, and a bunch of kids are playing on them, like waiting time, like not playing, they're playing serious golf. I said, well, what about our community? So I called the golf coach from, they have a combined team from East and North, and I said, how much simulator time do you guys get? None. We don't, I mean, unless we take them, like the kids don't have access to that kind of stuff. So we put them in here to help that. Shrinking the gap between what people feel like they can achieve and what's reality out there. So this is the new building, and we are super excited about the new building. Like I said, everybody here, you'll see the invites come out. We want everybody to come out to the grand opening. We're gonna have all of our events there. We do something with presidential candidates too. Only Republicans are caucusing in Iowa this year, so we're gonna invite the Democrats. We'll see if they come, but we'll invite the Republicans too. So we'll do all that kind of stuff in here. Here's all of our stuff on social media. You can take a picture of that or like log in or something. You got it? Got it? All right, good. All right, so now I'm gonna turn around, because Urban Dreams is a nonpartisan organization, so I had to talk about both at the same time. But I also, again, the reason I ran for Senate is because Thomas Mann was the last person of color, the first person and the last person of color to represent anybody in the state Senate. He retired 32 years ago. So not only did I do it because I thought it was good to have some diversity, and we have gender balance in the Senate, we do not have racial equity balance in the Senate. We're pretty good in the House. So actually the first two calls I made were my House members, KO and Ruth Ann Gaines, and asked them to run for the Senate seat. They did not want to. They both said I was. Right, so those were then I called, actually, after that call, I called Thomas Mann, and he said, thank you, it's been too long. So I'm super excited to represent Senate District 17. It's, like I said, like David said, it's right above us here, right on the north side, 6 miles long. It goes from the Playhouse to the fairgrounds. I walked it for a campaign event. It's a great district to represent. I hope I can be there for a long time. That's it. If anybody has, what other questions? I want to leave 10 minutes for questions, right? Really, 8 minutes? 5?
5 now.
5 now?
I gotta wrap it up.
All right. 5 minutes. 5 minutes for questions.
What do you think the biggest issue is facing the youth in our city right now?
The access to opportunities. And here's the thing. I know kids want to be, all right, so I just had this conversation with somebody the other day. Repeat the question, sorry. What's the biggest issue affecting our youth in our city right now? So I get it, right? When I was in high school, I wanted to be a professional football player, right? I wanted to be on that stage. I even chased my dream to junior college before I went to Drake. And then somebody told me, a mentor of mine said, you would rather own the team than play on the team. Trust me, they write the bigger check. And then I realized, like, yes, stage and stadium are not the only ways out of poverty for kids that come from, brown and black or low income communities. We too often project that as the only way, or that's often the only thing they see is the end result. I want kids to understand they should be sitting at tables like this with you where they are, and that's a much easier road to success. And trust me, all the CEOs or all the hiring people I work for, they've never asked me, send me your best rapper or your best singer or your best athlete. Send me the kid that's gonna be dedicated to showing up on time, getting to work, and exceeding the job expectations. And that's what I think it is. They need to understand that that's where they want to be. Because trust me, they think everybody in West Des Moines and Waukee is rich. And I'm just like, well, you can easily get to West Des Moines and Waukee. That's just like working hard, right? Like that's not that's an attainable goal, but they don't get it. So that kind of stuff is a thing. So we're trying to really build that into the program that we create. Yes?
Are there classroom spaces in your new building?
Yes, there are. Are there classroom spaces in our new building? Yes, there are. There's like 5. Yeah, large ones too. Yes.
I applaud you, and I'm very excited to see the building. I thought you'd already moved in, so I'm intrigued that you're at United Way and you're coming there.
Yeah.
And the reason being, and my question is surrounding 6th Avenue, knowing that you have the park, but knowing that your office has moved,
Yeah.
how do you see the building being on 2nd Avenue, which I think is I personally one who believes it's a strong move, but there's a lot of opinion that the connection to 6th, which is so ingrained in the neighborhood, versus 2nd, which is a through there.
Yeah.
How do you build that bridge, and how do you see Urban Dreams staying connected to the neighborhood and the fabric of those children's lives while being on a very busy area? I know that that's a concern that someone's expressed.
Yeah.
I think a lot of that is rooted in the mythology and the fears around the neighborhood, which are changing.
Yeah.
And I think you have the ability to redefine that myth. Does that make sense?
Yeah, yeah.
I'd love to hear where you think that, how you can reinforce those positive directions and dispel some of the anxiety.
Yeah, so being on 6th Avenue for so long, the question is, how do we continue to have a presence on 6th Avenue with our building being off of 6th Avenue? We've been doing it. We modeled it this year, right? We've been in United Way since January, and we actually have staff. Our driver who does all the pickup also goes and interacts with the people that are hanging out at the courtyard twice a day, and make sure that they are understanding. So it's so funny, right? Because like again, I said, I mean, we have homeless people that are there, but the one rule is you can't sleep here. And guess what? The rule is they respect that rule. Sometimes they don't like it. Sometimes they actually fall asleep and we wake them up and we nudge them and like move around. But because we have Wi-Fi there, we have electricity there, and it's a beautiful space for them, and we just don't like trespass them for like some silly infraction. They respected it. They sweep it up just as much as we do, right? They've never done any graffiti. There's been no damage to that place. It's been open for 2 years now. Because we treat them with dignity and respect. They treat the space with dignity and respect, and we give them what they need. They need electricity to charge their phone, because guess what? If they're at the Bethel Mission, they can't charge. They can't have their phones there. That's what we learned. So we wanted to help partner with the Bethel to have a space for them to go, and then a space that's nice. So that's how we do it. We continue to interact with them, then we program it. They don't know we're not there. They think we're there. Now, I'm glad DART's doing the on-demand service in our community so that we can get people across 2nd Avenue, but we also have some things we need to talk about 2nd Avenue. I hate the fact that DART doesn't go up 2nd Avenue, but our Greyhound is on 2nd Avenue, and I see people carrying their luggage down the street all the time, and that sucks. I'm out of time. Oh, one more. Never give the politician the microphone, right?
What do you do for tutoring in the community? Education is a huge part of it. And black and brown kids fall behind easily. Are you doing anything on educational tutoring?
Des Moines Public Schools sends teachers to our office to fill that gap. Yeah. Gap in tutoring, there was a question. Thank you all.
Oh, great. Thank you. Thank you so much, Isaiah, and what a wonderful service you're providing to our community and all the connectivity that's happening. And I had no idea you were the OWI diversion program for the state too, so that's just fantastic work. Thank you. As a token of our appreciation, we've donated a book in your honor to the Des Moines Public Library, and your book will become part of the Rotary Rosie Reader Van collection. Our club had donated $40,000 to the Des Moines Public Library Foundation to purchase that van in 2020. Now we're sharing some upcoming events that's coming up here. In addition to our every Thursday at noon meeting, we promise you at least 2 opportunities to get together a month to meet up with each other. And if you have any questions, there's an informational flyer on your table. or near the name badges. So tonight, those 10 of us that have signed up are gonna be music at the garden, at the Botanical Garden. They moved us indoors, so that's why our seating is limited to those who had already pre-RSVP'd. So we'll be seeing you there at 6:30. And we've got reserved seating inside with air conditioning. Second Chance Tuesday, our second time is gonna happen this September on Tuesday, September 12th, back at the Big Grove. The fellowship and fun is free and the beer and the food is on your own. And be sure you've got your calendars marked, September 14th. We will not be having a noon meeting that day here, but we will have our social event, Thank Fall, at Jester Park Nature Center. So we encourage you, bring your guests, bring prospective members, and join us for an evening of fun, food from what you're smoking, and some brew and some wine. Plus friendship building at a beautiful Iowa natural setting. And we also want to be sure to make sure that our newest members get showcased and we get to know everybody better. So coming up next time, August 31st, Mike Whalen, President and CEO of Part of America Group, will tell us what they're doing these days. September 7th, Carrie Johansson with the Iowa Environmental Council will be discussing clean energy for a thriving Iowa. And we'll have, again, no meeting on the 14th, but we'll see you at Jester Park. So now, I just want to sincerely thank you for being with us today and for being a vital part of the Rotary Club of Des Moines. And until we meet again, let's get out there and have fun and do good in the name of Rotary. We are adjourned.